The UConn Huskies won by double digits on Tuesday night against Memphis. But even with the victory, the head coach, the Hall of Famer, Gino Auriemma, not exactly thrilled with the performance of his team.
We grinded it out. We got a win that, the way we shot it and the way they were playing could have just as easily been a loss.
48 hours later, the Huskies have another test on the road against a very physical Central Florida team. And we're getting you set for all the action on the UConn Women's Basketball pregame show beginning right now. Edition Financial Arena down in Orlando, Florida, where tonight UConn Huskies go in search of their 15th win of the year. They take on the Knights of Central Florida. All the action coming your way top of the hour right here on SNY. And with that, we welcome you inside Studio 31, the UConn Women's Basketball pregame show. Gary Apple back alongside the Hall of Famer Kara Walters. In Tuesday's game, Kara, against Memphis, a little bit too close to comfort. So why is UConn having, at times, a little bit of trouble putting away lesser opponents?
I think we're overusing the word consistency this year, but it definitely applies to this season. Again, inconsistent. They started off slow, missing shots. 21 points out of the gate in the first period. Now, they gave up 21 points against Memphis early on, so their defense wasn't good. Their offense settling for three-point shots, not defending the three-point shot. How much time we got, Gary? I got
lot
of reasons they didn't do well in that game. Olivia not playing to her ability. I think they start going one-on-one when the offense isn't working. They gave up too many threes defensively. Gino didn't like the layups they gave up. But they did have stretches. Let's be positive now, right? They had a few stretches where people played well. Kristen played well. Crystal played great. So, inconsistent play, not from one game to another, but from one period to another, one game to another. That's the way the season's going.
Are you finished? I mean, you had a laundry list there that you were just racking up as we went along there. What about the conference? Has it gotten stronger, or is this really all on UConn?
Well, I think it's a combination, Gary, because I think women's basketball in general, it's been fantastic for the sport. I think there's more parity in it. So you see that a little bit with the conference, but for the most part, I would have to say it's UConn. They're just a very different team. They haven't found their identity. They're not really sure which direction they're going in, how they want to be, who they want to focus on. So I think a lot of it is UConn's own issues, but women's basketball in general, I like the parity. You have different number ones in the nation. So it's a little both, but for the most part, I think it's just figuring out this season how it's going to go.
I've said so many times in the past, if the opponents are going to get to UConn, this is the year to get to UConn, because with the recruiting classes they have coming in next year and the year after and the year after, I'm not sure they're ever going to lose another game. But what do you think of the current state of the game? South Carolina is #1 right now. It's been fluctuating. We know Baylor beat UConn. Do you like the way the game is right now, or do you like it better? And listen, you're a UConn through and through. Do you like it better when they're the dominant team in America?
No, I kind of like that. People want to go to the games now. They want to tune in and go, well, they might not win by 50, so let's watch. So I think it's good for the sport to kind of have more teams and more parity.
All right, one of the Huskies who has struggled in recent days has been Olivia Nelson-Ododa, and after an up-and-down game on Tuesday, the head coach, Gino Auriemma, really he is expecting more from Olivia. Here's Gino.
We can't afford to have her be a 6'5" jump shooter. No, we have enough jump shooters. We need her to be an aggressive defensive presence, an aggressive offensive player in the lane, and she's lost some of that aggressiveness. Like, we're not getting it. She's struggling with it. But she got it back a little bit. So maybe the second half was a good step for her.
So with that as the backdrop, let's head down to Orlando. Welcome in Maria Marino. And Maria, when it comes to Olivia Nelson-Ododa, where does the coaching staff think that really the pressing area of improvement is that they'd like to see here with Olivia as the season moves along?
Hey, Gary, I think what the coaches most want to see out of Olivia is a hunger and a competitive fire. Today at shoot-around, Gino made it a point to say to Olivia she has to act like she wants the ball every single possession. So I took that to mean they clearly want her to be more aggressive and always look to score in the lane. You know, after the loss to Baylor, when I had talked to Olivia, I didn't get a sense of a ton of personal urgency. I think it's starting to sink in now. As far as skills, they still want her to be more disciplined, stay on her feet while defending, alter shots without fouling, and use her body both to finish at the rim and box out on both ends.
Well, she is certainly such a big part of what UConn is looking to do, Maria. We thank you. See it coming up top of the hour, UConn and UCF. Let's get a look at Olivia Nelson-Odota's stats this year, and she got off to a terrific start in December, averaging over 17 points per game, 70% shooting, and then January, it's been a bit of a different story, averaging just under 8 points per game on 41% shooting, also taking less than 4 shots per game, and so she's not as aggressive, and I think we see that in the numbers right there. And I asked you the other night whether UConn can get where they want to get to a national championship without Olivia Nelson-Odota playing at the level she played at to begin this season. Are you confident she will get back to putting up those sorts of numbers?
You know, this will be interesting to see how she can handle the mental part of Gino, right? She's so inconsistent. She has these highs and the lows. She can't get too high. She can't get too low. Mentally, she has to stay with it. Gino said it's frustrating because what we're doing is in practice is not carrying over to games. So she has to understand that she earns her playing time in practice, and she has to get that reinforcement from herself, from Gino, that she's working hard enough. But it'll be interesting to see how she's responding this season. Does she just like, okay, let's get over it, move on? Or is he just knocking her down so much she's not going to get it? But I have faith because, and I said it, Gary, you cannot win a national championship without a post presence,
right,
without a front court presence. You just can't. So no pressure on you, Olivia, but it's hopefully she kind of figures it out. And it's not her body. I mean, her body type is what it is. She just has to learn to use it better and to be smarter when she's doing it. I did like the way she's posting up in the Memphis game. If you watch her footwork, she's getting in the right spots, but now she has to call for it and dominate it. And like Gino said, just want the ball every possession. I think tonight they have to go to her early and often to give her confidence.
One of the things we know about Central Florida, they are physical. They bump you and they bang you every time you go into the lane or down near the basket.
Yes.
I'm really interested to see how she's going to respond to that and if she's going to play, you know, really tough tonight. That's going to be a big thing as this game unfolds. So, Kara and I just getting going here on the UConn Women's Basketball pregame show. Gino Auriemma less than complimentary about his bench's performance following Tuesday's game against Memphis. Going to focus in on the role of the bench when we come back from Studio 31 here in New York City in just a moment.
Kristen with the left hand. Megan Walker. Yes.
Huge shot.
Dangerfield for 3. Nice cut. Kristen Williams and a good feed from Megan Walker. Dangerfield wide open. Got it. 3 more for Crystal. Walker drives. Splits 2 defenders.
Nice aggressive take by Megan Walker.
Kristen Williams. She'll take care of business. From the corner, Dangerfield.
Huge 3 by the senior.
UConn's big 3, Crystal Dangerfield, Megan Walker, and Kristen Williams combining for 79% of UConn's points in the victory over Memphis. Their numbers presented by Town Fair Tire. Gino Auriemma said post-game he's having a bit of a tough time with his rotation.
You know, we're trying to win with 3 players and then patchwork. Patch this up, patch that up, put this guy in for a little bit. Put this guy over here, because that's, you know, it's been a real struggle to try to find, you know, any kind of continuity, and we'll keep trying, but right now we don't necessarily have it.
So the question is, who needs to step up? Who really needs to be a bigger part of what UConn is doing? Do you have answers, Ms. Walker?
Well, we started with a discussion with Olivia Nelson-Odota, right? It's gone from the core 4 to the big 3, so she needs to get involved a little more. Kyla Irwin, she did a great job a couple games ago, but she hasn't scored in the last 3 games. Now, that being said, Kyla Irwin's not out there to score 20 points. She's there to set screens, in the rhythm, score if it comes her way, so she needs to be involved and play Kyla basketball, not try to be more than that, but she hasn't contributed in the scoring bracket. The freshmen, that's the other thing. Obviously, we're talking about the depth and the freshmen. It's taking them a little longer to kind of get going here for UConn, but Anna Makarad has started to hit her stride a little bit. In that last game, she had 2 key threes, one at the end of the half and one at the end of the game. You're starting to see her kind of calm down a little bit and hit her stride. And Aubrey Griffin, she's so athletic. I mean, she's one of these players that is just so athletic, but she's been hesitant to drive to the basket. She hasn't been finishing putbacks around the basket. And that's still nerves. That's still like, I'm not sure if Gino trusts me, and they're still trying to shake that off. But at this point in the season, right, freshmen can't be freshmen anymore. We're in January now, so if he gets more contributions because they get more confidence, then that's going to be really pretty helpful, don't you?
Yeah, I would think so. Aubrey Griffin is so gifted athletically. I mean, she can jump out of the gym, but when she gets to the basket, she can't always finish. How do you get from being an athletic player and then the ability to get to the tin and then finish at the rim?
Well, it goes, like you said, from being an athlete to a basketball player, learning when to hold them and when to fold them, right? Knowing when to go hard to the basket, when to hold it back. But those putbacks, that's just practice. That's like doing those little things in practice day in and day out, so it becomes muscle memory. They just need to take their brains out of it. They really do. Like, all of them need to stop thinking and just play basketball. They're great basketball players. They know what to do. They just have to kind of forget that they're on this big stage and just play basketball.
By the way, and you mentioned a moment ago, you know, when you're a freshman, you're thinking about what the coach is thinking, especially Gino. You've got to have thick skin to play for Gino. Is it difficult? You've been out there on the court. When you're a freshman, when you make a mistake, are you thinking, oh, Gino's going to pull me out, or how's he going to deal with this, or how do I deal with the yelling?
Yeah.
Is that a difficult thing to handle?
Yeah, I've been kicked out of many practices. We went to Stanford. He told me he wasted a plane ticket flying me out to Stanford. So that's part of the mental game, though, because if he can toughen you up, then you're going to, when the games come, that's easy. All
right, more to come here on our show. Crystal Dangerfield getting set to go down in Orlando. She took over the fourth quarter on Tuesday night against Memphis. She'll look to keep that momentum going tonight. We'll examine Crystal's big step forward this season when Kara and I come right back. Megan Walker on the floor down in Orlando. Walker has been the most consistent scoring threat for the Huskies this season, but she's coming off a game with 6 turnovers last time out. She'll look to improve in that area tonight. And for more, let's welcome in Ellen Bestwick and Meg Como. They've got the call for us tonight from down in Orlando. Guys.
Gary, Kara, thanks. Well, Megan Walker is the leading scorer on this UConn team. She's one of the leading scorers in the nation. And she's had a big role to fill for this team this year. Now, she had 6 turnovers the other night, so some people are saying, you know, what do you think about what Megan Walker's doing this year?
It's pretty incredible what Megan Walker has accomplished so far this year. She's tripled her scoring from her freshman year to now her junior year. And she's made it look very easy. She's very understated the way she plays. She comes to play night in and night out, plays hard, puts up big numbers, and is now the #1 option offensively, maybe #2, whereas in the past, she was like 3 or 4. Big difference. I've been impressed with her maturity and how she's been able to handle things.
And big difference in the defender that she's drawing, too. So when you see 6 turnovers, well, they had some pretty good defenders the other night in Memphis also. So this UConn team is drawing the bulk of its scoring from Megan and Crystal and Kristen. How concerned are you about 3 players providing most all of the team's scoring?
Well, this is no great surprise. I mean, we knew coming into this season that they were going to rely on these 3 and Olivia Nelson-Ododa to some extent. Now, Gino did mention the other night after that Memphis game, they need more help from the bench. You know, Anna Makarad gave some big minutes, some huge buckets in that game. Aubrey Griffin brings a good punch off the bench. But the consistency is what they're looking for, and they need Irwin to continue to do her thing. She's been in a little bit of a slump since she had that big game at SMU. So they just need to stay consistent. It's hard on the road in conference. Everyone wants to beat them. Everyone plays their best game against them. So they're in these roles for the first time in their careers, many of them. There's an adjustment period.
Yep, and we'll see what percentage of the total score tonight comes from those 3 as we get set to go against the UCF Knights here in Orlando. Gary.
All right, Alan and Meg, look forward to your call coming up just a little bit. I do want to focus in here on one of the big 3, and that's Crystal Dangerfield. She had 24 in that game against Memphis. big in the fourth quarter. 7 of her 14 points for UConn came in that fourth. 14 points that UConn scored came in that fourth quarter, 7 by her. So in late game, did I make that complicated enough?
No, I got it.
Late game situations, what makes her so tough?
Well, I think she's getting it. Like, I'm the extension of Gino on the court. This is it. This is my senior year. There's a little bit of urgency coming from her. Now, think about it. She could leave UConn not winning a national championship. That's like unheard of, right? That's a bad thing. So Crystal feels that urgency about her, and she realizes she's it. She's the leader of this team, whether she likes it or not. She took over in that fourth quarter. What I like, too, in that game, she's taken it to the bucket, which we haven't seen enough of in past years. She went to the free throw line. She was 6 of 6 from the line in that game, which shows you that she's getting there because she's penetrating, getting fouled. So I like that she's doing things. She's setting people up, getting the ball, but she's also knowing, hey, I need to shoot. I need to be a scorer. I need to be a leader. So she's finally kind of getting it. Like, there's nowhere else to look. Oh, I better lead this team. And she took over in the fourth quarter.
She certainly did. And when she's aggressive from an offensive standpoint, this particular UConn team is better. So still to come, Anna Makarat hit a big three-pointer to seal Tuesday night's victory over Memphis. Going to take a look at her impact on this Connecticut team and how she can continue to take steps forward when the UConn women's basketball pregame show continues after this. Here we go, the Huskies' upcoming schedule. After tonight's game against Central Florida, UConn going to take on Tulsa on Sunday afternoon, followed by a must-see matchup against Tennessee on Thursday, as well as upcoming games against ECU and then the exhibition game against the U.S. national team. Anna Makarat, she's been one of the many key freshmen making an impact on this year's UConn team. Here now a quick preview of the season premiere of the Gino Auriemma show coming up tonight. She's with Maria Marino, and he discusses the IQ of basketball. IQ, of course, of Anna. Take a listen.
She's just smart enough to be a pain in the butt. And in the sense that she really knows what's going on. She knows how to play. And that's why you'll see her a lot of times when she has the ball. She throws the ball to the right people at the right time. And for the longest time, she was leading the team in assists. And I was like, wow, this kid really knows how to play. And as there is with every freshman, one of the issues that Anna runs into is when she doesn't have the ball. When she doesn't have the ball, she does the European version of basketball. Unfortunately, she stands in one spot and goes and just wants the ball. And when we don't throw it to her, she gets all upset. And I told her, we're not throwing it to you if you just stand there and call for the ball. So we have these things where if we screen, we want you to cut sometimes. Nope, I'm not cutting. Why? I want to shoot a 3. When we took her out of the starting lineup, I think that alleviated a lot of pressure on her. I think she felt like I have to be really, really, you know. So I think she calmed down a lot when we brought her off the bench. She can see a little bit and then come out. But she's another one that, for a young kid, fixated on the ball has to go in.
By the way, did he try to do an Anna Makarat
I think he did.
impression right there?
Bad one.
Not a great one. By the way, the season premiere of the Gino Auriemma show coming up tonight, immediately following our post-game coverage here on SNY. So what about, he talked about her basketball IQ and the way she understands the game. Put that into context for us.
Well, you have to understand, she's 18 years old, right? But she played professional basketball in Poland, so she has a lot of experience. However, some of the European game is get the ball and score, score, score. In Gino's system, she's learning that it's not all about shooting the ball. It's becoming a well-rounded basketball player. So she's gotten smarter while she's been there, and she's realizing that, hey, it's about playing defense, right? It's about moving without the basketball. It's recognizing when I have opportunities. But like you heard Gino said, that's all kind of coming in time. It's taken a little while. I agree with him. The pressure is off her a little bit because of being taken out of the starting lineup, but she's a smart person because she's played basketball for a long time, but she has never played in a system like Gino Auriemma where other things are expected. Set screens, keep moving, get rebounds, and now she's starting to figure it out. She had a huge three at the end of the game and a huge three at the end of the half, so she's starting to hit her stride.
I love the way she spars with Gino on the sideline when they're discussing strategy. I mean, she is a very smart player. So we close in on game time down in Florida. Kara with what to look for early in tonight's game when we come back in just a moment. UConn starting lineup and no change once again tonight. Crystal Dangerfield and then Kristen Williams, Megan Walker, Olivia Nelson-Ododa up front along with Kyla Irwin, who again, as Kara said a short time ago, she has not scored the basketball. 0 for 7, no points over the course of her last 3 games, and that came on the heels of that really good game against SMU. She had 14 points in that game. She didn't miss a shot. 4 of 4 from beyond the arc and 5 of 5. So they'd like to get her going tonight. But what about this UConn team and what you're going to be looking for, especially early in the game tonight against Central Florida?
There's a lot of things. Get out to an early and often start, right? They've had slow starts. Shoot the basketball well. Get Olivia Nelson-Ododa involved. There's 2 6'3" girls on this team, and they're a physical team, right? We said it before, Gary. If you can't beat them up, and that's what UCF does. How can they handle that? How can they bounce back from the last game and stay consistent for the every period? I'm going on again.
Keep going. There's a lot to talk about.
And I'm excited, so let's go watch it.
I think the one thing we don't want to see tonight is Gino doing another Anna Makarat impersonation. I mean, that was a one and done, I hope.
I hope so,
We're not going to see that again. Listen, Central Florida, as you mentioned right there, they are a physical team. Yeah. They bang with you, so we'll see if UConn moves the basketball, and Olivia specifically, right?
See how she responds to that.
We shall see. So Kara and I, we're going to see you back here on the halftime show. Right now, it is UConn and Central Florida. UConn 125-0 all-time in American Conference play. They look to stay unbeaten. Down to Orlando we go right now. It is the UConn Women's Halftime Report. It's brought to you by our local Ford stores. Gary Apple back alongside Kara Walters. And what a difference there. UConn early in that second quarter trailed by 3 points, and then they just stepped on the gas pedal at a 16-0 run to close out that first half. We heard Gino Auriemma say a short time ago he was confused by what was going on the offensive end, but the defense, I think, really fueled what they did at the end of that first half.
They're like, this is a team of like Jekyll and Hyde, right? That's like from game to game, from half to half. Their defense led to their offense. That is like the bread and butter of UConn basketball, and they've done a terrific job. They had the steals, they got into, and you know the other thing? They got it down low to Olivia Nelson-Ododa.
How about that?
When they work through the post, good things happen. You don't even need your post player to score all the time, but you work the ball through it. This is a Central Florida team that played a lot of zones, so you got to find the gaps, right? So find the cutters, the guards, get the ball into your posts and have movement. So a lot of good happened. Started off a little slow, a little shaky, but good things happen.
By the way, what do you make of Gino and his trouble with the offense? 5 assists on 11 made buckets in that first half, and a lot of standing around.
Yeah.
How do they change that?
I think that's been the question mark all season, right? I mean, Gino wants to know the answer to that question. They just have to keep moving, finding the openings, especially against a zone. That free throw line is open, get it there, boom, down to Olivia Nelson-Ododa.
All that having been said, UConn getting it done on the defensive end. They held Central Florida to 25% shooting in that first half. They lead at 29-16 at the break. Go and take a look ahead at the second half when we come back here from Studio 31 in just a moment. UConn Huskies looking to go to 15-1 on the season. We get a look at first half stats. They're brought to you by our local Ford stores, and the one number that really jumps out, UConn dominating the paint, 18 points in the paint. Central Florida has not scored down on the low block, so that's a big part of UConn's 29-16 lead here at the half. We'll take a look ahead to the second half when Kara rejoins after a quick timeout. We got a look right now. First half category leaders brought to you by our local Ford stores. Megan Walker leads in points. Olivia Nelson-Ododa, she's got 6 rebounds to go with 9 points. Aggressive out of the gate.
Well, and to keep her aggressive, you have to keep her involved with the game. She's posting up. You have to reward your big girl, work the offense through her, and she has to keep crashing the boards on the other end.
Certainly seemed to be a conscious effort to get her going early as they posted her up down low. She got great position, and again, she had a solid first half. UConn leads it by 13 at the break. So Kara and I go to see you back on the post-game show. Second half action coming up following a quick timeout. All right, Alan, we thank you. Back to you and Meg in just a little bit. What's going on here, Carol Walters? Second consecutive game, UConn fails to pull away and have a big margin of victory, and this is very unlike them in the American Conference. This was the closest game they've had in the American Conference since that game against Tulane back in 2017. It's just the second time in all their games in the American Conference. They're 126-0 all-time in the American. This is just the second time they've had a game that was in single digits. So what do you make of all this?
First of all, everyone needs to stop comparing. This is its own team. This UConn team is not the UConn teams of the past. No Brianna Stewart, Diana Taurasi. This is life, the new life for UConn, as Gino says. And it is what it is. They have ebbs and flows, which are pretty ugly and you see some good things, some bad things, right? So defensively, I thought they did well tonight. I mean, they held UCF to only 52 points, right? So give credit for their defense. I think where we're seeing the problems are offensively. And offensively, they're not moving all the time. They're stagnant. What I did like is early and often they went to Olivia Nelson-Adota inside. When they worked their offense through their post, good things happen. But when it wasn't going through the post, they were kind of stagnant. They hesitate. Makarad ended up having a great game, but she hesitates on shots. You love what Crystal did taking over the game. So I think offensively is really kind of where they're struggling, and they turned the ball over away tonight 18 times, and UCF had 18 points off those turnovers. So taking care of the ball on the offensive end, because UCF did what UConn does, and their defense led to offense. And
really, defensively, we know they like to bump you. They're a physical team, and you mentioned the 18 turnovers by UConn. That's got to change, I would think, moving forward. And, you know, when it comes to getting big buckets down the stretch of a game, Crystal Dangerfield ends up with 13. She was the second leading scorer on the UConn side tonight. But we've spoken about the fact that she has the ability in big situations, she is a senior here, to put it into her own hands. She can score off the bounce. She can create for herself. And that really was a big difference when it's all said and done tonight.
You can just see her leadership skills growing. She's realizing, you know, time is winding down for me. I'm a senior. I have to take control of this team. She's the extension of the coach on the floor, and she's taken her job really seriously. What I liked is her recognition of the zone there. UCF played a lot of zone, left that middle wide open. You see Crystal Dangerfield take advantage of that with the mid-range jumper, which Gino has said to me before. The mid-range jumper is a lost art in women's college basketball. So she stops on a dime, recognizes that the middle is wide open, so instead of taking it to the hole like Crystal did in the last game where she scored from the free throw line, she recognized in this game that mid-range jumper was open and she got to where she needed to be, but she took the reins tonight and really led with confidence.
Isn't that all about decision-making and good decision-making?
That's exactly what it is, and that's why you had your captain, right, your senior leader there. Good decision-making by Crystal Dangerfield. When there's not, and you can see her now, she's calming people down. So she's not your typical get in your face and scream at you, but she's leading by example, and she's calm, and it's kind of, all right, guys, calm down, we got this. So like Gino said at the beginning of the year, it's not going to be pretty, but it's got to be gritty, and that's what they did tonight.
Back to the fact that it was a relatively close game. I don't think we ever really thought they were going to lose this game, but it was 59-52 when it was all said and done. And we've spoken about close games, and is it going to help them come tournament time when they face these sorts of situations? But the one thing that does concern me, and you touched on it a moment ago, is at times their inability to score the ball, and it does stick. And it's on the ground a lot. There's not a lot of passing, and I think we saw that they had trouble scoring at the end of the Baylor game. That was a lot of missed shots. But is that something that does concern you moving forward?
Well, you know, when we talked about this during the game, there was one possession in particularly where Aubrey Griffin did not jump on the loose ball. She thought Kristen Williams had it, so she kind of assumed, like, oh, okay, you have it. No, that's the difference with this team. The ball's on the ground, you go get it. Come on, freshman, it doesn't matter who's in the air. You bump heads with your teammate before you let that ball go. And that's kind of telling of the way this team is, like, oh, are you going to do it? You got it? Or no, people just have to step up and say, I'm going to do everything I can do to help this team. There's no waiting around, deferring, or anything.
All that having been said, UConn gets the win. They're 15-1 now on the season and 6-0 in the American Conference. And we get a look right now at tonight's stats presented by Town Fair Tire. Megan Walker led everybody in the game. She's got 19 points, and Olivia Nelson-Adota into double figures. On the rebounding side, Crystal Dangerfield had those 5 assists to go along with her 13 points as we head back down to Orlando right now. Welcome back in, Alan and Meg. And guys, let's focus in here on Megan Walker for a moment. She's the leading scorer on the UConn side. Another strong offensive game tonight with 19 points. Also had 8 rebounds. But as Kara mentioned a moment ago, turnovers are an issue. She had 6 in the last game. She had 5 more tonight. Why do you think that's the case?
I think indecision. I think when you're not really sure of what you're going to do, that's what leads to either turnovers, whether it's, we saw a lot of walks here today, errant passes. I think that's more, it's certainly not physical. She has the abilities. Those are mental mistakes that are mounting.
How much of it do you think comes back to that issue of movement and the Husky offense not having the kind of movement that they should have all the time that finds Megan in these situations of, okay, where am I going now?
Yeah, there is a lack of flow on the offensive end, and we've talked about it ad nauseum already at this point in the season. Stagnant, not cutting, not moving. And I know it's incredibly exasperating for Gino Auriemma and his staff. He's saying the same things over and over and over, yet I don't see the team's play and behavior changing that much. And Kara, you can imagine how frustrating that is for him.
Let's start with love the shirt, Meg. Start with that. I just have to say, love the shirt.
Thank you.
There was a big debate here. Was it a
what?
scarf
Come on.
or a shirt? We didn't know if it was a scarf or a shirt. Shirt? We like
Christmas present from the kids, so thank you.
I love it. All right, let's talk a little bit about Kristen Williams, okay? She was 0 for 3 tonight, 0 for 5 from three-point land last game. She's not shooting the ball well, but is she doing enough other things to make Gino happy, showing that she's matured because there's more to her game than scoring?
I think she is. I think she's involved defensively, rebounding, passing the basketball. But, you know, every player goes through shooting slumps at some point in a season or in a career. The key is to keep fighting and keep playing. I often think when they miss shots that you would think they would normally make open shots, I don't always think they're taking the right shots. And it's due to a lack of movement and a lack of flow offensively. And in my mind, the only way you work, the only way you get to taking the right shot is you just got to work through these struggles, and it's through our failures, as corny as it sounds. In life, it's through failures that you learn, and hopefully the messages and the things that they're learning stick.
Yeah, when I talked with Kristen in Memphis on Tuesday, she said, I don't really know why shooting has been a struggle this year, and I looked at the stats, and I didn't think it was that big a struggle based on the output she's had, but she said, I'm trying to make a really hard effort to impact the game in other ways. So who is she guarding tonight? How many points were scored over her, and so on? Really, the player that impacted this game most for UCF and against the UConn defense was KK Wright, who got it going in the second half. Other than that, I thought Kristen played well on defense. No, the shots didn't fall. The rim was very cruel to her tonight.
And KK Wright took a lot of shots to get to her 18 points. She took 22 shots in the game. When it's all said and done, UConn gets the win 59-52. Alan and Meg, we thank you guys. Safe travels. See you coming up on Sunday from Gampo Pavilion. Thank you so very much. I do want to go to the third member of the double-digit club tonight for UConn because they only put 3 in doubles. They only scored 59 points, which is about 20 points below their season average. Yeah. But Anna Makarat, who we spoke about on the pregame show, the freshman, she was in double digits. She had 10 points and knocked down a couple of more shots from beyond the arc. I think we're seeing growth from Anna Makarat. In which way are you recognizing that, Kara?
She's hitting her stride. I feel it. You can see the growth and the confidence growing in her. And she, like we said before, she's used to coming from a place where she's a shooter, right? Now she's developing her all-around basketball game and trying to be confident if shots don't happen, do other things in the court, set screens, keep moving, that sort of thing. So you kind of see her, the light bulb going on. And it's like, it's not all about scoring. And if I do miss, I go right back at it again. But she's put 2 back-to-back games together, and it's not always how many, it's when. Oftentimes she's had shots at the right time that she's knocked down, and having the confidence knowing I knocked down some big shots at the right time, that also helps. So it's not necessarily if I scored 20 points, it's did I handle things under pressure? And you're seeing her handle pressure more, and that's what I like about her.
All right, so UConn now 12-0 all-time against Central Florida. Kara and I, we're just getting going here on the People's United Bank postgame show. When we come back, I would have complete game highlights, and we are going to hear from Gino Auriemma, his postgame address to the media, and we will hear more from Olivia Nelson-Adota, who stepped up early in this game for UConn. They get the 7-point victory, and we're back in a moment. Here we go. Gary Apple back alongside Carol Walters. Complete game highlights. UConn and Central Florida picking up first quarter. Tie game early. Crystal Dangerfield to Olivia Nelson-Adota, carving out space.
We said go to Olivia early and often, and right off the bat, they find her in the middle.
UCF played pretty well tonight. Early on, that's Brittany Smith. A nice turnaround, gets it to go. Knights had the lead. Under 30 seconds to go in the first quarter. Game was tied. KK Wright, fearless, knocks it down. The Huskies in for a battle. It was tied after an opening quarter in the second. Huskies go on a run. Huskies were down 16-15. Anna Makarat the miss, but there's Megan Walker active inside.
Well, and Anna found the seam in the zone, and Megan Walker doing the little things, getting the rebound.
And then defense turning it into offense. Dangerfield the steal, and then Makarat finishes with the left hand. A 9-0 run for Connecticut. 22-16 when Walker misses, but she gets her own rebound, the bucket, and the foul. Huskies on a 14-0 run, and then soon after, Walker to Olivia Nelson-Adota. Great end of the half for UConn.
It was a great high-low, and it all started with Olivia's footwork, getting great position.
A 16-0 run for UConn to finish off that first half. In the third quarter, fouls and turnovers, and a lot of them. Walker here does get it to go off the glass. She had 19 points in the game. 3 minutes later, same score, Aubrey Griffin kicking to Makarat.
Well, I like that because she got behind the zone. She snuck back there, got the ball, saw her teammate. Perfect textbook offense.
UConn by 18, and then Makarat to Dangerfield. The little jumper, a little floater in the lane. And so UConn and Central Florida battling through three quarters. Good defense by UConn in that second quarter. They held Central Florida to 3 points in that quarter, and then Wright knocks down the jumper. Central Florida back within 7. They wouldn't go away, but UConn would respond down the stretch.
They stayed calm. They held their poise, and there you go. Anna Makarat, for her second game in a row, knocks down some big shots.
She had 10 points, and then it's Dangerfield who had 13. The mid-range jumper. You talk about the art of the mid-range.
Well, and smart. Good recognition by Crystal Dangerfield to go to that, flash to that spot, wide open in the middle, mid-range jumper.
UConn gets the win 59-52. Again, they're 15-1 on the season, the 4th-ranked team in America. They win again. They remain undefeated in conference. A few minutes ago, Maria Marino with Olivia Nelson-Adota.
Olivia, you said you wanted to be the aggressor. How do you think you did?
I think, tonight was a lot better compared to other performances. But as a team, I think we were able to come out more aggressive. But, there's always more to improve on. And so I think Coach is also going to talk about that. And I think we know it ourselves, too.
Well, what do you want to improve on, both personally and as a group?
Personally, just finishing better inside, posting up stronger, working on that. And as a team, I think we can learn, or we can take from this, we have to continue to be the aggressor. We get everybody's best game, and that's evident in the past couple games. And so we just have to learn how to work through that.
With the past couple games being so tight, what do you think you can learn from those moments?
Definitely learning how to finish together in the stretch or in the long run. And as a team, just kind of figuring out how to work together and kind of just coming up with a victory like this, even through, the tough part of it.
All right, thank you, Olivia.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Olivia, we thank you, and Maria as well. So the 9 points, dozen rebounds, did have a couple of block shots in the game. And you were pointing out as we were watching, she, especially early on in the game, really established great low position. Yeah. And you liked what you saw from a footwork standpoint.
I do. Footwork is hard to teach, especially with the young kids. It's hard to teach these days. So Olivia Nelson-Adota, she's doing a good job. When the ball swings, she swings with it. Because if somebody's fronting you, when your teammates recognize that and swing it the other way, now you're wide open on that side. She's doing a good job of recognizing it and positioning in the post. Now she just has to be strong and finish through contact. So she's doing the work before the ball gets there, but now she's got to put it all together and finish after she gets the ball.
And will she, in your eyes, be able to do that and continue to progress here as her sophomore season unfolds?
You're putting me on the spot here.
What do you think? Are you seeing enough to say to you, okay, she's heading in the right direction?
She is heading in the right direction. And the story of this season, and it's not just her, it's the whole team. How can we weather this storm in bad times? How can we handle the ups and downs? Because it's not going to be a straight line this season. And that goes for the whole team and Olivia. So I think everyone's being a little hard on her, but I see a lot of progress with her, and I see just a big future. She can only go up from here, and she does some really good things, people. That's what we do. That's our job, right? We nitpick and we harp on certain things, but this is a kid that's worked really hard and gotten stronger in the offseason. She just needs to continue to grow. I see her doing that down the stretch, and like we said before, they'll never win a national championship unless they have a big post presence. So Olivia needs to continue being that presence.
By the way, think about where she was from her freshman, where she came from last year to where she is right now. I mean, it's been a monumental leap. I think just with the talent around her, they need so much more from her if they're going to ultimately cut down the nets when this season is all said and done. We've got more to come here on our post-game broadcast, People's United Bank post-game. When we come back, we're going to hear from the Hall of Famer, Gino Auriemma. Not a great offensive night for Kristen Williams, but the ability to get to the tin and finish strong. We're coming back from Studio 31 in just a moment. We get a look, game stats tonight. Final stats brought to you by Town Fair Tire. Neither team shot the ball all that well. UConn just 38%. How about Central Florida from downtown? They shot just 7% from beyond the arc. They were 1 of 15 in the game. Let's hear from the Hall of Fame head coach for the Huskies. A few minutes ago, Gino Auriemma addressing the media. Let's listen in.
Gino, there were times that things went pretty well offensively. Sometimes their defense stepped up. Sometimes it was crazy turnovers. And how did you keep your sanity this time?
It's getting harder and harder. We go through stretches where we do a lot of really, really good things. And we go through stretches where our defense is, people can't score on us. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter what team. It doesn't matter where we are. We go through stretches where our defense is really good. And out of nowhere, we also go through stretches where we're not very good, where we're less than good. And, when it happens on the road, you take your chances. So these last two games, they were hard. They were hard to play in. They were hard to get things done. But this team needs to go through these kind of games. This is important for them. This is how they get a little bit tougher. This is how they get a little bit better.
Was it something, I guess the last two games, both teams were coming out in zone defense that seemed like it was just, I don't know if it was the way that they were playing it or the fact that there was zone that was just giving the offense trouble. Is it something that, what's kind of happening with your offense struggling against those defenses?
What's interesting about teams that play zone is, we've played a bunch of teams this fall already that play like that, and if you move the ball and if the spacing is good, you get a lot of open shots. What happens when those shots don't go in is you got to keep shooting them, and I think some of our players, maybe again on the road, whatever, shots don't go in. So there's this little tentativeness, a little bit of hesitation. Should I shoot it? Should I not? All the walking calls. You're wide open. Shoot the ball. You've been doing that all year. Why all of a sudden you stop? Oh, I didn't think it's going to go in. Well, so that's kind of the mindset that happens when when you miss a lot of shots, and that's what's been happening. And getting some more production inside the lane is good. Liv had a much better day today, so that'll help us a lot going forward.
Well, I think that really is interesting, that a little bit of a lack of confidence. I think what you're hearing from Gino right there from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah, and you can see it, and you mentioned during the game, they'll dribble a few dribbles, then pass, and through a zone, you want pass, 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 shot. It's because they're hesitating. Oh, I took a dribble. Should I shoot or should I now pass? So you can definitely see and sense that hesitation on UConn's part. And as you heard, the Hall of Fame coach saying, he's giving people the green light. He's saying, shoot. I'm never mad at you if you take the right shot and a smart shot. So that hesitation kind of needs to fade away. But I think these games are good for this team. This is the kind of team that needs to be roughed up a little and push back on their heels and see what they're made of if they push forward and through these things. So, on the bright side, maybe it's a good thing that this season that's the way it's going to go versus let's get to the Final Four, never lose a game, never face adversity, and oh no, what do we do now? We lose a game. So, hey, different ways of doing things. maybe this is better.
What did you say in high school? You had a sign?
We had a sign in our locker room. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
There you go.
So I'm going to send that over to their locker room. You're welcome, Gino. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, ladies. So let's take those shots.
Got to take those shots. And I think, and again, I go back to the word confidence, right? When you've got an open shot, you take that open shot, because most of the time when you pass up a shot like that, you're not going to get a better shot. And that's where I think the doubt begins to creep in.
Yeah, they call me the black hole. Once it came into me, it wasn't going out, you know? And Gino used to say to me, you have a better chance of completing a shot than you do completing a pass. So that doubt sets in, but this is a great team that shares the basketball extremely well. But sometimes they get like, no, you take it. No, you take it. So there's a difference between a good passing team and a team that passes with a purpose. And they do. Oftentimes they'll give up a good shot for a great shot, which is something they're known to do. But now people just have to have the confidence to knock it down. He's not going to yell at you. He's giving you the green light. Hey, if he gives you the green light, start shooting. Crystal Dangerfield did. You know, certain things don't change. When I give you, when I toss it over to you for your analysis, sometimes I don't get it back. It's like the black hole. Let's get checked right now. Drive of the game presented by Subaru. Third quarter, Kristen Williams going to split the defense. This was the only field goal she made in the game. She was 1 of 9 from the floor, but that was a nice one right there. It is the drive of the game. It is presented by Subaru. Not finished yet here on our post-game broadcast. By the way, coming up immediately following our show in just a couple of minutes, it is the season premiere of the Gino Auriemma Show. We'll come back with sights and sounds of UConn's 59-52 win over Central Florida in just a moment. Time now for the player of the game. It is presented by People's United Bank. It's Megan Walker. She led everybody in the game. She had 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists, all a big part of UConn's 59-52 victory over the Central Florida Knights. Our next game here on SNY coming up on Sunday. You can catch all the action beginning at 11:30. Kara and I will be back with you for the pregame show, and then tip-off just past noon from Gamble Pavilion. The Huskies going to take on the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. What do you make as we head out the door here, Kara, of what we saw tonight down in Orlando? I think there's good and bad from each game that UConn's had the last couple games, and I think the defense was good. They held Central Florida to 52 points. Offense needs a little work, but there were glimmers of hope. Crystal Dangerfield, great game. So now building on that is what's important going into Sunday. Let's build off the good things. Olivia had a pretty good game. Keep it going. UConn, by the way, once again, 200 consecutive wins against non-ranked opponents. 200 consecutive wins. I mean, crazy. Some of the numbers, they are just staggering. For all the little nitpicking we do, yes. I mean, this is one of the great programs in the history of collegiate sports. So that's going to do it for us. For Kara, I'm Gary. We thank you for joining us again. In about 30 seconds, it is the start of the season premiere of the Gino Auriemma Show. But on the way out the door right now, let's get one more look. The sights and sounds of UConn's win tonight over the Knights of Central Florida. Enjoy.